afternoon, everyone. This is Steve Luckner from Right Side Broadcasting Studios. We are bringing you live coverage of the announcement of President Trump's tax plan. So in about 5 minutes, Steve Mnuchin, Secretary of the Treasury, and Gary Cohn, Director of the National Economic Council, they are going to appear at the White House. I don't know if President Trump is going to appear. I haven't been told he's going to appear yet, so I'm going to assume no for now, but we'll see. And they're going to announce President Trump's new tax plan, or the proposed his proposal that he wants to be carried out and wants Congress to vote on. And I've been looking for details about this, and what I saw so far, I saw one tweet which said, I'll tell you the one tweet I saw about this so far. I'm kind of scanning my tweets, and I can't remember where I saw it from. But one tweet I saw said there was going to be a bunch of deductions proposed, there's going to be tax cuts, but there's also going to I think to pay for those cuts, there's going to be deductions that are gotten rid of. So the proposal is going to be some combination of tax cuts plus getting rid of deductions, presumably to pay for the tax cuts. But I also saw, the tweet said, lots of deductions proposed to get rid of, but they were going to keep a few of them. And the tweet said, I think, mortgage interest was one, and maybe charity was another. But I'm still looking over. That was just a tweet of somebody who had some report about it. So here it is. This is from, I'll read you the tweet. This is from Eamon Javers. Eamon Javers, who is a correspondent for CNBC. And he wrote, administration official tells me Trump tax plan will make big changes to deductions. Many will go away. Kept charity, mortgage interest, and retirement. So we'll see if that holds true. But anyways, that's one tweet I saw about this. So we're going to bring this to you, and also just another update here. This is a little bit on, it's other political breaking news. This just came out the last 15-20 minutes that supposedly the House Freedom Caucus, which is the conservative, very conservative wing of the House Conservatives, perhaps the most conservative wing of the House Conservatives, they supposedly are approving the latest House GOP health care bill to replace Obamacare. They're approving that. We don't exactly know what the bill is yet, but we don't also know how moderates are going to feel about it. So we might have this bill the House GOP proposes and the Freedom Caucus is on board, but maybe moderate members of the House, or especially the Senate, would just say we can't vote for it. So don't know. But I guess the most important thing is in the House, they're maybe trying to get a House bill passed. So no word yet on how House moderate Republicans feel about this. So we'll keep you up to date on that. But right now, we are talking about the tax plan. It's going to be announced in a couple minutes. Secretary of the Treasury, Steve Mnuchin, National Economic Council Director, Gary Cohn. I got to look up if it's Gary Cohn or Gary Cohn. I don't know. I'm saying Cohn. They're going to be at the White House. They're going to be presenting the tax plan. I don't believe President Trump will be there, but who knows? Maybe he will. But from what I have seen, it's just those two. So we're going to bring that to you live. We're just as soon as they go out onto the stage. It's not really a stage, it's more of a podium platform kind of thingy. Jake will tell me, Jake is producing today, and we will go right to it. For now, maybe, who knows, it might be delayed a few minutes. Feel free, we'll come back afterwards and do a post coverage and talk about it. For now, if you want to write in your comments, either now or during the announcement or afterwards, give a shout at Luckner on Twitter, at LOOKNER. That's where I am. Or you can direct message me direct message me there, or email me at steve.luckner@rsbn.tv. I just want to make sure there's no big emergency here. Let's see. No, that's not anything important. So let's see. I'm trying to see if I can find anything else about this, any kind of leaks about this tax plan, what's going to happen with it. Another piece of information that came out, this breaking news came out in the last 20 minutes, half hour, was that reportedly the White House is considering an executive order which would, executive order on withdrawing from NAFTA, but when I read the story, this was in Politico, it said they were considering it and it might change. So I'm seeing it reported as if like some people are reporting it, making it sound like they're definitely going to withdraw from NAFTA. President Trump's definitely going to withdraw. And that's not what the story says. So we'll keep you up to date on that as well. Also, I just noticed President Trump made a tweet this morning, which I hadn't seen yet. It says, first the Ninth Circuit rules against the ban, and now it hits again on sanctuary cities. Both ridiculous rulings. See you in the Supreme Court. President Trump also said see you in the Supreme Court to the Ninth Circuit when he was signing his executive order this morning. If you want to see that, he signed an executive order on the Antiquities Act. And if you want to see that you can see on Right Side Broadcasting. We've posted it. We covered it live, and it's on our channel on YouTube. So we are just right now awaiting the announcement of President Trump's tax plan. If that report I read from the CNBC person was true, and we're going to see, as part of this tax plan, the proposal to get rid of a lot of deductions. That's quite interesting. That's something I hadn't heard before as part of the tax plan. There was speculation, how will President Trump pay for a tax cut? He wants to supposedly cut corporate tax rates down to 15%. We'll see if the announcement confirms that. But if that's the case, there was a question of how is he going to pay for it? And so I'm quite interested in seeing what these the elimination of deductions he is supposedly going to propose will be. And will people get angry about that? So we're gonna see. Let's see. Italiano for Trump writes in, always good to see you. Great job, buddy. Thank you, Italiano. Good to see you as well. Italiano writes in, restructuring NAFTA to benefit USA. So it sounds like Italiano for Trump, you think President Trump's not going to want you to pull out of NAFTA. He's going to want to restructure NAFTA. That's another possibility. That reminds me that Rick Perry yesterday, Secretary of Energy, said he's going to recommend President Trump renegotiates the Paris Climate Agreement but doesn't pull out of it. So we might see something like that. And I will say, if President Trump, when it comes to Paris Agreement and to NAFTA, I think him saying, I want to renegotiate, might be this way politically for him to try and satisfy his base, who he promised he would do something about NAFTA and the Paris Climate Treaty, while at the same time not upsetting people on the left and moderates by pulling out of these agreements completely. So this renegotiating the agreement, he might see as like a middle way, which can maybe keep both sides happy and not upset either side too much. Just a thought. Okay, so we are just awaiting here any minute now, really any minute now, not like CNN does, where CNN had it up on their site, on their channel. CNN at like 1:11 p.m. had any moment president's tax cut announcement. Any moment, it said. And it wasn't scheduled till 19 minutes later, but they do this. And I've seen them do it before. They say any minute and any moment when it's like 20 minutes before. They do it with the Spicer briefings too, and they're dishonest about that. And the other, even MSNBC, they'll say, 1:30 p.m. That's when it's scheduled, but not CNN. They resort to these tricks where they say any moment or any minute. But it really is any minute right now because the scheduled start time was 4 minutes ago. So really, not fake CNN any moment. Really any moment now, this tax cut announcement, this tax proposal announcement will happen. We will bring it to you live, and then we will come back after, join us after for the post coverage. Let's see. Barbara Braley writes in, Steve, as a CPA, not many people get to use itemized deductions anyway, as the standard deduction is at $12,600. So any complaints about this, check to see if they have enough to use itemized deductions. Just my opinion. Thank you, Steve. That's a really good point. So I'm not a tax expert, but I believe I'm aware of this, where you get some kind of, you get a standard deduction, like, yes, I know this, and I trust you on what the actual number is, but I think on my taxes, I was looking over my return recently, and because I have somebody do it for me. I pay them to do it for me. I don't have them do it for free for me. But they do. I didn't itemize deductions because it's not worth itemizing if you don't have enough to go over the standard deduction. So you're right. That's a good point. So we'll see what the deductions are. And I don't know, but maybe some of them will be like deductions people take a lot of money for. Don't know. We'll see. Thank you, Barbara, for writing in, though. Okay, let me see if there's anything else I can find here. So different members of the press are tweeting out like, we're full house awaiting briefing. This is Mark Knoller. He covers the White House for CBS, and he says, full house awaiting Steve Mnuchin briefing on President Trump's tax cut proposal. So the entire, you can actually see there the entire, I can see, if you go to Mark Knoller, at M-A-R-K Knoller, K-N-O-L-L-E-R, you can see that tweet. And here's a picture up of the room. Is anyone else reporting anything on this? No. I do find it interesting because sometimes when these proposals are coming out, you have like leaks about them. Like we did hear yesterday that President Trump was planning on cutting the corporate tax rate 15%. But this deductions thing about proposing elimination of deductions, I had heard nothing about. So they've kept that under wraps pretty well, and not really much information out there on it. So I, like you, I'm interested in hearing what is said. This is a message we got from, oh no, this is different. That's not a message we got about, actually it is. Around NAFTA, Stephen Robluski writes about NAFTA. He says, Mexico and Canada should team up against Trump's administration. He's a weak stick, a veritable pushover. Now this was a reply to Taliano's tweet. I don't know if it was meant to be on the show, but I'm reading it anyway because it was a reply to this tweet. But Stephen thinks that Trump is going to be weak now on NAFTA. Now, I don't know, perhaps what Stephen is responding to is, I know some people were upset about President Trump not insisting that funding for the border wall be in the spending bill that Congress is working on this week to keep the government from shutting down. And a number of people were upset about that and said, I believe from what I had read, I hadn't heard the show, that Rush Limbaugh was upset about it. So I know a number of people are upset about President Trump for not insisting on funding for the border wall. And I wonder if the people, like those people, will also be upset at President Trump if he says, let's renegotiate NAFTA, but he doesn't pull out of NAFTA, or if he says, let's renegotiate the Paris Climate Treaty, but doesn't pull out of the climate treaty. So we will see. Okay. Really, any minute now. Really? We're going to the announcement now. We'll see you afterwards for some coverage after.
I never thought so many people would be turning out for the Antiquities Act, but thank you all for being here. I know, I had to use it. Obviously, today we're here to talk about the President's effort to provide tax relief to both our corporations that will help grow jobs and to middle Americans. Two people here to explain it. The director of our National Economic Council, Gary Cohn, is going to walk through why we're doing what we're doing, and then the personal side of the tax. Then Secretary of the Treasury, Stephen Mnuchin, will walk through the business side and the corporate side of what the President is doing to bring jobs back to this country, to make our businesses more competitive and help our economy grow. At the end, they'll be glad to take questions on this. You are being provided a one-pager right now that provides the top-level aspects of the plan, and then both the Director and the Secretary will go into further detail and take your questions. So without any further ado, Director Gary Cohn.
Thank you, Sean, and good afternoon to everyone, and thank you for being here. This is quite an historic day for us, and one that we've been looking forward to for a long time, and one we're very excited about. We have a once-in-a-generation opportunity to do something really big. President Trump has made tax reform a priority, and we have a Republican Congress that wants to get it done. And this is something that, quite honestly, I hope the Democrats would support too, because it's good for the American people. The President is going to seize this opportunity by leading the most significant tax reform legislation since 1986, and one of the biggest tax cuts in the American history. We've been working on this for a long time. We've had great meetings. We had a great meeting last night with the leadership of the House and the Senate. We have agreed on many of the important principles of tax reform. We look forward to working together with the House and the Senate very closely in the weeks ahead. The President has focused on three things since his campaign: job creation, economic growth, and helping the low and middle income families who have been left behind by this economy. He understands there are a lot of people in this country that feel like they work hard and they just cannot get ahead. They are sick of turning their paychecks over to Washington and having no idea of how those dollars are spent. They are frustrated by a tax code that is so complicated they can't even do their own taxes. That's why tax reform is such a big priority to this president. He cares about making the economy work better for all American people. Here's a little history. When President Kennedy cut taxes in the early 1960s, the top rate on personal income was over 90%, and there was rampant tax avoidance. And then, 20 years later, President Reagan took rates down to 28% for individuals. Since then, rates have been creeping back up, and more loopholes and special interest tax breaks have made their way back into the tax code, disadvantaging average Americans. And then, on the business side, when President Reagan left office in 1988, the corporate tax rate was 34%, and it hasn't changed much since. For the last 25 years, other countries have been aggressively cutting their tax rates and moving to a territorial system in order to attract business. And the U.S. has done none of that. In 2017, we are still stuck with a 1988 corporate tax. That's why we are now one of the least competitive countries in the developed world when it comes to corporate tax. So tax reform is long overdue. We are going to cut taxes for businesses to make them competitive, and we're going to cut taxes for the American people, especially low and middle income families. Today, I'm going to outline the principles we have put in place for personal tax reform, and then I'm going to hand it over to Secretary Mnuchin to talk about the business side. First, here are a few statistics for you on the individual side. In 1935, we had a one-page tax form consisting of 34 lines with 2 pages of instructions. Today, the basic 1040 form has 79 lines and 211 pages of instructions. Instead of a single form, the IRS now has 199 tax forms on the individual side of our tax code. Taxpayers spend nearly 7 billion hours complying with these tax codes every year, and nearly 90% of taxpayers need some help in filing their taxes. We are going to cut taxes and simplify the tax code by taking the current 7 tax brackets we have today and reducing them to only 3 brackets: a 10% bracket, a 25% bracket, and a 35% bracket. We're going to double the standard deduction so that a married couple won't pay any taxes on the first $24,000 of income they earn. So in essence, we are creating a zero tax rate. Yes, a zero tax rate for the first $24,000 that a couple earns. The larger standard deduction also leads to simplification, because far fewer taxpayers will need to itemize, which means their tax form can go back, yes, to that one simple page that I talked about earlier. Families in this country will also benefit from tax relief to help them with child and dependent care expenses. We are going to repeal the alternative minimum tax. The AMT creates significant complications and burdens which require taxpayers to do their taxes twice to see which is higher. That makes no sense, and we should have one simple tax code. As we all know, job creation and economic growth is the top priority of the administration. Nothing drives economic growth like capital investment. Therefore, we are going to return the top capital gains tax rate and dividend rate to 20%, repealing the harmful 3.8% Obamacare tax on dividends and capital gains. That tax has been a direct hit on investment income and small business owners. We're going to repeal the death tax. The threat of being hit by the death tax leads small business owners and farmers in this country to waste countless hours and resources on complicated estate planning to make sure their children aren't hit with a huge tax when they die. No one wants to see their children have to sell the family business to pay an unfair tax. We are going to eliminate most of the tax breaks that are mainly benefits to high-income individuals. Home ownership, charitable giving, and retirement savings will be protected, but other tax benefits will be eliminated. This isn't going to be easy. Doing big things never is. We will be attacked from the left and we'll be attacked from the right. But one thing is certain. I would never, ever bet against this president. He will get this done for the American people. With that, I'm going to turn over to Secretary Mnuchin to go through the business tax plan, and then we will both come back and take questions.
Thank you, Gary. So as Gary said, we've been working on this plan for a very considerable period of time. And our objective is to make U.S. businesses the most competitive in the world. Right now, we have a 35% corporate rate on worldwide income and deferral. It is perhaps the most complicated and uncompetitive business rate in the world. Not a surprise that companies leave trillions of dollars offshore. Under the Trump plan, we will have a massive tax cut for businesses and massive tax reform and simplification. As the president said during the campaign, we will lower the business rate to 15%. We will make it a territorial system. We will have a one-time tax on overseas profits, which will bring back trillions of dollars that are offshore to be invested here in the United States to purchase capital and to create jobs. The president is determined to unleash economic growth for businesses. This is not just about large corporations. Small and medium-sized businesses will be eligible for the business rate as well. As Gary said, we have had very productive meetings with the House and Senate working weekly to get this done. We will continue to do that. We are determined to move this as fast as we can and get this done this year. I would also just comment that we will hold listening sessions. One thing this president has done very well is listen. We've had hundreds of business leaders here from all different types of areas: manufacturers, retail, airlines, community banks, big banks. We are listening and we have been taking feedback. Finally, I would just add, the president's objective is creating economic growth. And as we've said before, we believe we can get back to 3% or higher GDP that is sustainable in this country. The overall economic plan consists of massive tax cuts and tax reform, regulatory relief, and renegotiating trade deals. And with that, we will unlock the economic growth that's been held back for too long in this country. And with that, we'd be both happy to take a few questions. Even in the back.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Secretary. When you talk about the individual tax rates, you're also talking about eliminating some of those tax breaks. Are you talking about eliminating tax deductions? And which ones are you talking about eliminating and which ones are you talking about keeping?
Correct. We are going to eliminate on the personal side all tax deductions other than mortgage interest and charitable deductions. We think that will be sweeping reform. Adam.
Thank you, Secretary. When you talk about lowering dividends and capital gains taxes, how does that mesh with what you said this morning about protecting the middle class from the very, very wealthy who might be able to take advantage of, I don't know a better word than loophole, but that would give them a lower tax rate?
Well, again, what we've said is that the business rate is going to be available for small and medium-sized businesses as well as corporations. However, we will make sure that there are rules in place so that wealthy people can't create pass-throughs and use that as a mechanism to avoid paying the tax rate that they should be on the personal side. And I would just say on the dividend rates, we believe that restoring the 20% capital gains rate is critical to investment in this country.
Secretary, just another question about your pass-throughs and all that. The initial plan that the president, as a candidate, outlined also included freelancer contract workers in that 15%. Wondering if that's the same. What's your rate on repatriation of funds overseas? And Gary Cohn, what about the marriage penalty? The president promised to eliminate that.
Okay, again, first I would comment on the rate of repatriation. We're working with the House and Senate on that, but I will say it will be a very competitive rate that will bring back trillions of dollars. And as it relates to the definition of contractors and things along those lines, again, those will be the details we will be working with Congress on as we turn this into a bill that will get signed by the president.
So as Secretary Mnuchin said, we are working very diligently with the House and the Senate on coming up with final details of the bill. You're going into very micro details on some of these. Very important. We agree. Very important. Our basic premise here is to simplify the tax system, lower rates, and make it easy. We don't want to penalize people. We want to make the system very fair. That is one of the things on our list that we're going to work on, just as Secretary Mnuchin said. We will get back to you with definitive answers on all these details.
So on the 10, 25, and 35% rates, do you have income brackets established that you're going to propose any progress on that?
As again, we are in constant dialogue with the House and the Senate. As Secretary said, we're holding a bunch of listening groups right now. We have outlines. We have a broad brush view of where they're going to be. We're running an enormous amount of data on the proposals right now. We will be back to you with very firm details. We're very confident to where they're going to be. We're just wanted to get out and give you a broad brush overview where we are. The President very much believes in taking input, as the Secretary said. Over the next month, we've got a lot of different discussions going with a lot of different groups that are interested.
Deductions, does that also mean state and local income taxes being eliminated, that deduction being eliminated? And how about health care?
Yes.
And how about health care?
Thank you. Mr. Secretary, thank you. And Mr. Cohn, either one of you. So when you talk about repealing the 3.8% Obamacare tax that hits small business and investment income, is this your first attempt, official first attempt, I guess, with this, to start pulling back on Obamacare? And also, what do you say to your fellow Republicans who say that this tax reform package is more about corporations versus cutting the deficit?
Look, this tax reform package is about growing the economy, creating jobs. It's about the economy. As I started, President Trump comes in every day and talks to the two of us about economic growth, economic prosperity, and jobs, and what are we doing to stimulate economic growth. That's how we're looking at this plan. The 3.8% tax on capital gains, dividends, and interest, the President looks at that very seriously as being a tax on capital being spent to stimulate economic growth, people putting investment capital to work, and people being taxed on their personal businesses. So we're trying to get rid of that to be more stimulative, to have capital go back into the economy to create more jobs.
So it's more business than Obamacare. Excuse me, I'm sorry, is it more business than attacking Obamacare?
It's business. It's to stimulate business investment. We are trying to stimulate business investment.
So on this, first of all, does it pay for itself? Is this plan revenue neutral? And secondly, what in here is non-negotiable? When this goes over to Congress comes back with a 20% corporate tax rate or a VAT added in, will the President refuse to sign that?
Okay, well, let me first say, again, the core principles of this, we've been meeting with the House and Senate, and they agree 100%. The core businesses make business rates competitive, bring back trillions of dollars to create jobs, simplify personal taxes, create a middle income tax cut. So those core principles are non-negotiable, and that's something that we all feel strongly about. As it relates to will it pay for itself, again, I think as we've said, we're working on lots of details as to this. We have over 100 people in the Treasury that have been working on tax and scoring lots of different scenarios. This will pay for itself with growth and with reduction of different deductions and closing loopholes.
Mr. Secretary, if it turns out that the congressional estimates when this has been scored, if it turns out that this actually won't be paid for by growth, if it won't keep deficits in check, I mean, is the President comfortable with that? Will he sign something?
Well, let me just say again, when we look at the deficit, and the deficit has gone from $10 to $20 trillion in the last administration, that is a problem, and the President is concerned about that. This plan is going to lower the debt to GDP. The economic plan under Trump will grow the economy and will create massive amounts of revenues, trillions of dollars in additional revenues. Let's go in the back.
If you don't replace some of the revenue with a border adjustment tax, how will you make up for the deficit caused by the reduction in the corporate tax rate?
Okay, well, again, today we're putting out the core principles, which include rates, because we think that's a very important part of the plan. We will be working very closely, as I said, with the House and the Senate to turn this into a bill that can be passed and the president can sign. And there's lots and lots of details that will going into how that will pay for itself. Yes.
The territorial tax system, is that a border adjustment tax? Is it tariffs? What is it?
No, a territorial tax system means that U.S. companies will pay income on income related to the U.S. So it's territorial. U.S. companies will not be subject to worldwide income, which has made them uncompetitive.
Is there reason to be concerned that perhaps the Republicans might not go along with this, just like they didn't fully go along with the Obamacare replacement?
Again, I think that there's a lot of desire from everybody to pass tax reform. As Gary said, we are at a historic moment, and Republicans and Democrats want to create jobs and want to help the American people. And as I said, the core principles of this we have agreement on, and we will work forward on the details. Let's go in the back.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. Quick question. You bring up repeal of the death tax, the estate tax. This is an issue that's been going on for decades, and it used to be they were always talking about phasing out the death tax over a period of years. Groups such as Jim Martin's 60 Plus Seniors Association said they wouldn't accept it and want an immediate killing of the death tax. Is that what this is going to be, or is it going to be a phase-out measure again?
Right now, our initial proposal is to immediately phase out, when this proposal becomes effective, to phase out the death tax immediately.
When you say phase immediately?
With the implementation of the new tax, the death tax would disappear.
Secretary, I've got two questions. One, this is obviously a statement of core principles. It's just one page. Obviously, tax reform will be much more complicated. When will we see the details? When will we see the actual plan?
Well, we are moving as quickly as we can. So we are working with the House and Senate on all the details, and this is, everybody has an agreement. We are going to move this as fast as we can, and when we have an agreement, we will release the details and go through it with all of you.
My second question is, will the president release his tax returns so that
The president
Americans...
has no intention. The president has released plenty of information, and I think has given more financial disclosure than anybody else. I think the American population has plenty of information on this. Right there. Excuse me, other people have the right to ask questions.
Will affect him personally.
My question is to either you, Mr. Secretary, or Mr. Cohn. You mentioned middle-class tax cuts for middle-class families watching this tonight on the news. Family of 4, median income $60,000. What does it mean for them?
It's going to mean a tax cut.
How much?
Going to mean a tax cut. Look,
Okay, why
you're asking the same question we got asked over here. We will let you know these specific details at the appropriate moment. We are in very robust discussions with the Senate, with the House leadership. They are progressing very quickly, and we will continue to give you more details as we have them.
Okay, we're going to take two more, right back here in the fourth row, yes. Yes.
Mnuchin, exactly a year ago, then candidate Trump was asked if he believes in raising taxes on the wealthy. He said, I do, including myself, I do. So my question is, why isn't he doing that? And will the president end up paying more or less taxes as a result of this plan?
Well, let me just comment. I can't comment on the president's tax situation since I don't have access to that, okay? But I would comment that our objective, okay, is the reduction in taxes will be offset by significant reduction of deductions and other items so that the effective tax rate, okay, is what we're focused on. Why don't we take one more question right here?
Thank you. You may not have seen the president's tax returns, but according to our estimations by his 2005 returns that are out there, getting rid of the alternative minimum tax would save him he would only have paid $5.3 million in federal income taxes. So your response to those critics who say a lot of what you've presented here today could save the president or benefit his own businesses?
Again, let me just comment. What this is about is creating jobs and creating economic growth. And that's what massive tax cuts and massive tax reform and simplifying the system is what we're going to do. The AMT is just another example of a third complicated set of rules. Anyway, thank you, everybody. Appreciate you guys being here.
The president's been flexible on other matters. Do you think he could change his mind?
Welcome back. So that was the announcement of President Trump's tax plan from Secretary of the Treasury Stephen Mnuchin and Director of the National Economic Council Gary Cohn. So a lot to process there about what is being proposed. Jake, are we able to get that photo on the air? Because I think it'd be good to just go down it. Yes. Is it? And will you let me know, Jake? Because I don't have it's on the air right now. Great. Okay. So let's. Oh, Jake, could you throw that photo up there now? Because that'll help us go through this and summarize it for everyone out there. And just let me know when it's up, and I'll start going through it. So, it's up, Jake? Okay, great. So this photo you're seeing now is a photo, Jennifer Jacobs posted it, and also NBC Nightly News posted it. So the White House gave out this one sheet to people who were at that briefing. And it summarized the points. So since there was so much said in this press briefing and all these different points about the tax cut proposal, I thought, let's just go over this point by point. So it says, at the start, it says at the top, the biggest individual and business tax cut in American history. So it's supposed to be a tax cut. Now, what Steve Mnuchin repeatedly said during the press briefing is that there are this overriding tax cut. There are several goals that are being pursued here, and these are the goals listed here: grow the economy and create millions of jobs, simplify our burdensome tax code, provide tax relief to American families, especially middle-income families, lower the business tax rate from one of the highest in the world to one of the lowest. So those are the basic goals of this tax plan. Now, the tax plan has it involves changes to individual taxes and changes to business taxes. Let's first, as this sheet does, look at the changes proposed to individual taxes. This is where it says individual reform. Bullet point 1, tax relief for American families, especially middle-income families. Okay, number 1, reducing the 7 tax brackets to 3 tax brackets of 10%, 25%, and 35%. Now, something to note here is the top rate right now, I believe, is 39.6%, if I'm getting that right. So that highest bracket of 35% would be lower than the current highest bracket. But also a key point about this is that, again, one of the goals of this tax reform is to make taxes simpler. They're very complex now, and Steve Mnuchin says they want to, and Gary Cohn said, they want to reduce the 7 different tax brackets to 3 tax brackets, 10, 25, and 35%. Also, doubling the standard deduction. So as of right now, when you fill out your taxes, if I'm getting this right, as an individual, you automatically can deduct like $6,000, around $6,000, and as a married couple, you automatically can deduct like around $12,000 instead of itemizing your deductions. So, for example, this year there's certain specific things I might have deducted in my taxes, like a charitable donation or a work expense, but I didn't list all of those. I didn't have to list all of those because they didn't add up to $6,000 whatever. And on my tax return, I just took the standard deduction, the $6,000 deduction. And so I didn't have to list everything. And that simplifies things when you don't have to list all your deductions. But so right now you only can take that standard deduction if your itemized deductions would be under $6,000 something if you're an individual or $12,000 something if you're a married couple. Under this proposal, the standard deduction would be doubled. So for individual would be around $12,000 something, and for couples would be around $24,000 something. So if you're an individual and you have certain things you want to deduct that are deductible, but they don't add up to $12,000 total, then it would simplify it because you don't have to worry about listing all your different deductions and figuring them out. You just take the $12,000 standard deduction. So that's a proposed change here. And I'm wondering, one thing I'm wondering about is it possible that that 6,000, the current deduction, the current standard deduction has been around a long time, and it wasn't indexed for inflation, and that when it first came out, it was like a higher number in terms of real value, and it's gotten lower over time due to inflation. I don't know, but anyways, that's another of the simplification points. Also here, let me say this. I believe, so if you double the standard deduction, this is another key point about it. So let's say you're a couple and your standard deduction is $24,000. That means you can automatically deduct a minimum of $24,000 from whatever your income is. So in effect, when you have the standard deduction be $24,000, that means for a married couple, or I guess they have to be married to file as a couple. Anyways, let's assume they do. For a married couple, if they make under $24,000 in income, they will have no income tax because they can just take the standard deduction. And if an individual makes under $12,000 or whatever the exact number is, they will have no income tax. So there's that change. Next point, the final point under tax relief for American families, especially middle income families, is providing tax relief for families with child and dependent care expenses. So President Trump mentioned, I believe yesterday, did he mention this? Or did I read about something? I can't remember if President Trump himself mentioned this or this was a report I got about the tax plan. But anyways, what this is saying is it's suggesting that there will be some sort of tax credit or something for child care expenses and dependent care expenses. So dependent, I'm not sure what I know a child counts as a dependent, but as a dependent, if you're like, say there's like an older person in your family and you're taking care of them, does that count as a dependent? I don't even know under the tax regulations what it counts as, but at least I know here for child care, it seems like there will be some tax relief. Doesn't say exactly what that tax relief will be. And as Stephen Mnuchin and Gary Cohn said during the meeting a couple times, a lot of the details need to be fleshed out here. They don't have the whole plan fleshed out detail-wise. But there's a promise here of some sort of tax credit, tax relief for people with child and dependent care expenses. What are dependents? Can I just find out really quickly? Definition. I'm going to look that up. A person who relies on another for family support. Who can I claim it as? I'm looking up. IRS says, who can I claim as a dependent? Well, there's no easy answer here. So anyways, I'll look that up later. All right, so we've talked about individual reforms. We've talked about these 3 points. We're going over President Trump's tax plan that was just announced. We're doing it by looking at this one-sheet summary that was given out to the White House press at the press briefing, and we're covering everything that covers. We've been talking about the individual reform section, and we are up to the simplification part. There are 4 points under the simplification part. Let's go through them. First point, eliminate targeted tax breaks that mainly benefit the wealthiest taxpayers. So presumably this would also help pay for this tax cut if you eliminate certain tax breaks that mainly benefit the wealthiest taxpayers. I don't know what these tax breaks are, and it doesn't specifically say here. Maybe you have an idea. Feel free to write me and suggest what you think your ideas about this are. But eliminate whatever some targeted tax breaks will be eliminated according to this plan that benefit the wealthiest taxpayers. Second point, protect the home ownership and charitable gift tax deductions. So there is a suggestion here that for simplification, there will be deductions eliminated from the tax code. So there are certain deductions you might have been able to take before that you wouldn't take now. It doesn't say exactly, you won't be able to take in the future. It doesn't say exactly what those are. But it does say protect the home ownership and the charitable gift tax deductions. So those are 2 deductions that people do use frequently, charitable gift. Home ownership, I know there's a mortgage interest deduction. Is that related to the home ownership or is that different? I don't know. I need to look this up. I'm sorry. But I will say this, though. Like, for example, so if you're using the deductions to pay for the tax cut, then it's significant to leave these deductions untouched, because if you got rid of these deductions, that could be a significant source of income. Maybe they thought that politically they wouldn't be able to get rid of these deductions, don't know. Or maybe they wanted to encourage home ownership and charitable gift giving, and so they don't think they should get rid of the deductions. Just a point there. So they're saying they're going to protect those deductions. Repeal the alternative minimum tax. This is something I need to read about. So my understanding of the alternative minimum tax, my understanding of it is that it's a tax for any kind of tax return you fill out. There's a certain amount of tax it guarantees you have to pay. So I believe what it is, from my understanding, and I haven't looked it up in a while, but I believe what it is like, well, you can't, at a certain point, if you start taking deduction after deduction after deduction, you can only take so many deductions, and because you have to pay a minimum amount of tax, and that's called the alternative minimum tax. I believe that's right. Hold on, give me 2 seconds here. Let me just make sure I'm not saying something really wrong here. I'll just Google it really quickly and see if I can get a quick summary. It's a supplemental income tax required in addition to baseline income tax. Blah, 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 blah. Is there a simple definition of it somewhere? Oh, to find a simple definition of it. What I might have said might have been wrong. It requires many places, blah, 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 blah. Originally intended to prevent perceived abuses by a handful of the very rich, and now affects 5 million filers. Okay, so Congress, it was an add-on minimum tax that households paid in addition to regular income tax. It applied to certain income items that were taxed lightly or not at all under the regular income tax. All right, so anyways, I think what I said wasn't strictly speaking right, but the general idea is it's legislation. The alternative minimum tax is a part of the tax code which ensures people pay a certain amount of tax and they can't pay too little tax. And it was originally directed at wealthy people. I need to read up on this, I'm sorry. But they want to, here's why I want to get into what this alternative minimum tax is. So the explanation given for getting rid of it is they said Mnuchin and Cohn said, if we get rid of, when you have this alternative minimum tax thing in the tax code, it requires a lot of calculation by a number of people, a lot of people filling out their taxes. And if we get rid of it, it really simplifies people's tax preparation. So I get that part of it, and I think simplification is good. My question is, though, if you get rid of alternative minimum tax, I thought it was designed to ensure that certain people pay a certain amount of taxes and can't pay too little taxes. So it seems like that would cost money to get rid of the alternative minimum tax in terms of it would cost revenues, that some people would pay lower taxes than they would have otherwise with the alternative minimum tax still in place. So I just want to know more about that. Okay, let's move on. Repeal the death tax. The death tax is the estate tax. It's the tax people have to pay when they die. I had done some brief reading on this, and from my reading, it said that you don't have to pay an estate tax unless your estate exceeds $5 million or something like that, something in the 5 million something range. So if that's correct, what I was reading about, the estate tax really affects more, the death tax affects more wealthy people. So this is sort of similar to me, the alternative minimum tax, where my question here is, I get that getting rid of the estate tax and the alternative minimum tax would simplify things, but they do seem like tax cuts perhaps directed at wealthy people, although maybe also helping middle class people. But where this is important is trying to figure out how much this tax plan will cost and will it get paid for. It'll be important, those will be important questions when you come to these items, like if we repeal the death tax, how much does it cost the federal government? If we repeal the alternative minimum tax, how much will it cost the federal government? Both of those will cost the federal government something in terms of lost revenue. So I'm sure there will be tons in the coming days of speculation and theories about how expensive these might be and whether this tax cut will really pay for itself, and if not, how much it will cost. So get ready to hear a lot about that. But these are just some thoughts I had when reading it. And I apologize, I am not more of a tax expert, and I didn't really have time to read up on this stuff. I'll be reading up on it in the next couple of days. Finally, under individual reform, the last item is repeal the 3.8% Obamacare tax that hits small businesses and investment income. So under Obamacare, there was a 3.8% Obamacare tax. I'm not sure, is this the one, is this the payroll tax? Is that what this is? Let me just look this up. See if I can find it here real quick and give you a quick summary of it. If I can't, I won't. Let's see, Obamacare tax. Oh, is this on investment income? The net investment income tax applies a rate of 3.8% to certain net investment incomes of individuals, estates, and trusts that have income above blah, 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 blah. So it looks like here, this Obamacare tax, can I get rid of this? Sorry. Let me just check one more thing here. See, I'm doing this on the air. I'm researching on it, on net investment income. So at least from what I could initially see here, this Obamacare tax, this 3.8% tax, was on individuals' investment income. It also says it hits small businesses. I'm not doubting this. I'm just not sure exactly how it does that, and I need to look it up. But it does apply to individuals' investment income. I'm not sure exactly which income it is, but I think the idea here is to give some tax relief to people in the middle class and also wealthy people, and also simplify tax returns, and also, let's see, what was I going to say? So, and also encourage investment income by not taxing, encourage investment by not taxing investment income so much. All right, so that is all of the points under individual reform. We just went over all of those points. Oh, okay, thank you. So I appreciate the donation. I think, now Norway, I think we got one other little donation for Popcorn for Maggie, so we will add that to the Popcorn for Maggie fund. However, it's not certain yet whether Maggie will be able to make the this rally, so if she doesn't, we'll save your money for the next rally. But thank you for your donation, Norway, very much appreciated. By the way, if you enjoy our coverage here at Right Side, if you enjoy our coverage of news events, our alternative to the mainstream media, also if you enjoy that we go out and cover President Trump's rallies like we're going to do Saturday, and we talk to everybody in line, and we show you all the introductory speakers, and we show you people, we interview people after the rally, and we show you all of President Trump's speech. If you like that, please consider donating, because we rely on your donations to stay on the air. We can't stay on the air without your support. It really does. It's like most of our income these days. So if you'd like to donate, you can either go to rsbn.tv/donate, rsbn.tv/donate, or if you're watching on YouTube, there's a chat room next to the broadcast. Just click on the $sign at the bottom of the chat room, and that makes it very easy to donate. So thank you again, Nora, for your donation. Thank you to the moderators for moderating the chat room today. Much appreciated. Okay, let's continue. We have a little bit more. It almost feels like a class here, but I do think it's helpful to go over all of the items on this sheet here that they handed out about the tax plan to review it. And there's no way I could have remembered all of this stuff by myself. So let's continue. We finished individual reform. We are now at business reform. There's 4 items under business reform. Item 1, 15% business tax rate. So we talked about this on the air yesterday. This had been leaked out that this was going to be proposed. The current corporate tax rate, I want to say it's like 38% or something like that. It's in the 30s, and they want to bring it down to 15%. Let me see, let me just make sure here. Current corporate tax rate. Can I get a quick answer? 35%, okay. They want to bring it down to 15%. Let's see here. Also, territorial tax system to level the playing field for American companies. I'm not sure what this means. I have no idea what this item means. I have some thoughts about what it could mean, but I'm really not sure. So I'm not going to touch this one yet because I don't know what it means. It's apparently supposed to help American companies, but I'm not sure what it means. Next one-time tax on trillions of dollars held overseas. So I think the idea here is that companies keep some of their money, these multinational companies, instead of bringing it back into the U.S. where it will get taxed, they keep it at some part of the company that's overseas. And the idea, I think, maybe would be that they could bring it back in the country. Well, now I don't even know, because why a one-time tax? I was thinking maybe they could bring it back in and pay a tax on it, or this is another one of these things. It's one-time tax. There's some reasoning behind it. I don't know what it is. So I got to go read up on it. There you have that. Eliminate tax breaks for special interests. Yes. Thank you, Carl Peterson, for donating. Carl actually donated last night during the live stream as well, so really appreciate it, Carl. And as Carl points out, it is Melania's birthday today. Well, I think it's today because somebody yesterday said it was. I think Andrew Sovey yesterday said it's going to be today. Let me confirm that, so I don't give you wrong information. But I'm pretty sure our viewers are correct. Yes, it says Melania Trump, it's her 47th birthday. So thank you, Carl. Very much appreciated. We will put it toward the fund for the rally. And the last item here, so we had eliminated tax breaks for special interests. I'm not sure specifically what those special interests are, but that would also go towards simplifying the tax code. And finally, we have process here at the bottom, and it says process. Throughout the month of May, the Trump administration will hold listening sessions with stakeholders to receive their input and will continue working with the House and Senate to develop the details of a plan that provides massive tax relief, creates jobs, and makes America more competitive and can pass both chambers. So I really would love to hear some of your thoughts on this proposed tax reform. There's a lot going on here. I certainly need to, and I think we all need to look at it and think about it more, but I'd love to hear some of your thoughts. So if you'd want to, write to me on Twitter at Lookner, at Lookner, or direct message me at steve.lookner@rsbn.tv. Just a couple thoughts I have real quick. One thought I have on this, and I said it before, is it's very hard for me to tell how much this tax code cut will cost. And I'd be interested in those numbers. Now, I also know that Steve Mnuchin has said he thinks this tax cut will really promote business and and help the economy, and do so in a way that it'll end up paying for itself. And he thinks it'll really help the economy grow. So, but I would like to know how much this would cost, and I'm no tax expert, and I'm sure that you're gonna see a lot of studies done on this and people working to figure this out in the next couple of days. So that's an important question. In terms of simplifying things, so I know they want to make it simpler. I guess, what I think about the tax code is I would love there to be a world. Some countries have it much simpler, where it's just like, to me, the thing to do if you really want to make it simpler is you do something like this. Figure out roughly, once everybody does their whole tax return, they add in all the deductions and all the nonsense they have to do on their tax returns, all that stuff you have to go through, and you finally figure out how much you pay. Figure out roughly what everybody's paying anyway, and then just say, okay, no more deductions, no more special rules, just take your income and pay X% of that. And if you want to, you can say, you can graduate it, or you can just have one flat tax, or you can have like a few rates, but just radically simplify. So I'm all for simplification. It's just I don't have a good feeling yet for how much this is a simplification. And because I know there's so many tax rules out there, and I'm guessing that even if all of this is put in place, taxes will still be very complex. So now maybe I'm wrong about this. So that's just the simplifier in me. I think at a certain point, we can basically figure out roughly what everybody's going to pay anyway. So it would make things so much simpler if we could just have do what some other countries do. This is my little editorializing, but it's and just have it like no deductions, no nothing, just simple income tax, and just say that's it. And but it's hard to do that because when you start getting rid of parts of the tax code, when you get rid of deduction X, this group is going to complain, and when you get rid of deduction Y, this group is going to complain, and when you change this part of it, this group's going to complain. So it's very hard to do. I'm guessing it's maybe even politically impossible to do this, but that's just the thought I had. So I'd be interested in knowing how much this simplifies things. I don't really have a good grasp of that right now. So those are some of my thoughts on this. Let's see. I think some people wrote me in. So Stephanie Derrick said, what parts do you think won't work? Well, there's no part, Stephanie, where I think like that won't work in terms of it can't be practically implemented. I guess my question is, my overall questions, as I said, was, how much will this really simplify things? I don't know yet. And also, there are certain parts of this that cut taxes for wealthy people. There's very wealthy people, reducing the top tax rate from 39.6 to 35. There's getting rid of the estate tax. There's getting rid of the alternative minimum tax. So what I wonder is, how much will those things cost? And can those costs be balanced out by improvements to the economy that come from such a tax cut? I don't know, but that's a big question I have. Let's see here. Sightless Seer says, Sightless Seer, you sent me a link to the IRS and said, current IRS tax information for religious institutions and concurrent exemptions. Okay. And you sent me very long message. You sent me a very long message. You say, let me start reading in Sightless Seer and see how long it ends up being. A thought on taxes, specifically on religious institutions. I know right now religious institutions are not really taxed, and I know the idea of taxing them may be considered controversial, but hear me out. What if such institutions, and indeed all institutions, were taxed according to the contributions to communities they serve? Those who do less for the community could be taxed more than those who do more for their communities. Let me keep reading there. So you're talking about this. So this is a part of the tax code I know nothing about, Sightless Seer. So I can't really intelligently answer your question. It's an interesting idea. One thing I'll say though is when you start getting into we'll tax them based on what good they do for the community, what good they do to the community, it's very hard to measure that, and the measure can be really subjective, and to try to encapsulate that in a tax code might be very hard, and it might create so much work for the people who have to analyze these. You might have to hire a lot of people to analyze how much good the different religious institutions are doing. So unfortunately, it's not something that can be measured very easily, which might present difficulties. But thank you, Sightless Seer, for writing in. Let's see. Italiano for Trump says, I want a copy of the bullet points collector's item. Well, you'll have to find somebody, Italiano, who was in the White House press corps and actually got one of those today. And let's see here. I want to also just do quickly, I should check my email real quick. So this is going to be talked about a lot in the coming days. I'm sure you're going to read a lot of analysis pieces in the press about analyzing this different ways. So lots of it was interesting in the sense of just so much information presented at that press briefing, all these different items, and it's a lot to take in, and then everybody has to go run off and analyze them. But I like that we got a press briefing where we didn't exactly know everything that was going to be said beforehand. All right, let me call up my email here. There we go. Let's see. Jason Thornton, you wrote me a message, and Jason, you wrote, why does the subject line is mainstream media hates Americans succeeding? Jason writes, why does it seem the mainstream media reporters present at the briefing today were negative about average Americans getting more money back in their pockets? They seem to have poor attitudes in general, but when it comes to real citizens' tax burden being eased, they get even snarkier with the questions. When will people wake up and realize that mainstream media does not have their best interests in mind, only pushing the globalist narrative? Boo, mainstream media, my 2 cents. Keep up the great work, Stephen RSBN. Shout out to the chat room, MAGA. Best regards, Jason Thornton. By the way, CNN SUX. Thank you, Jason, for writing in. So you think that the media, your comment was, they didn't seem, in your estimation, to be so. They seem to not be on board as much as they should have been, as enthusiastic as they should have been about tax cuts that would affect and help average Americans. Let's see here. That made me think of something, Jason, when you wrote me that. Oh yeah, something else I noticed during the press briefing about the media, which you made me remember, Jason, was there was this one question that drove me crazy at the end, which was the question was something like, so this particular tax cut that's in the proposal would have helped Donald Trump with his taxes. So does this mean that he's proposing things that will help him and his businesses? Now look, it's just any president is an American citizen. So anytime the president proposes a tax cut that affects like a lot of American citizens, it's probably going to affect the president. But just because the president is proposing a tax cut that affects his own taxes or her own taxes, it doesn't mean that's why they're doing it. The press loves to do this. They love to jump from the fact that President Trump is proposing something that would affect his own business in a positive way to the conclusion that that's why he's doing it. And it's like that inference, it's totally unjustified. If President Trump wants to do stuff to help business or help lower taxes, he's an American who's a businessman. So any American businessman that's president is going to affect their own taxes when they propose tax changes. It's like, what do you want him to do? Not propose any tax cuts at all because they're going to affect him? And it's just, again, there's no argument given that this is the reason why he's doing it. It's just assumed that if he's doing something which could in theory help his business, but also help like all the other businesses, or could in theory cut his taxes, but also wouldn't cut a lot of other people's taxes, the reason he's doing it is that it would help him personally, and they give no justification for inferring this, and it drives me nuts. Okay, I got angry. Anyways, let me just check Twitter again. Sightless Seer says, can a printout be made available by RSBN of the contents of the page given to the reporter for those who wish to read it? I will retweet it from the RSBN account in a moment. Jake, if you're out there, if you want to, Jake, you can actually... I could do it from here, Jake, but if you want to, you can go to the RSBN Twitter and just retweet my tweet with the picture in it. And then people will be able to see it. I haven't heard back from Jake. Let me know. If you do it, let me know. If not, I'll do it later. Thank you. Jake is doing it now. So you are Sightless Seer. Your request is granted immediately. Thank you, Jake. Jake is producing today, doing a great job as usual. That was from Sightless Seer. The Mid-American writes in, the idea of taxing religion is a non-starter. It would never stand up to the Supreme Court. Even the left knows that. So that's a good point, Mid-American. There is, in the Constitution, it says that the Congress shall make no law regarding the establishment of religion. There's the Establishment Clause, and the way the Constitution has been interpreted, it's been in a way that the federal government can't be seen as like favoring any certain religions or. Well, let me say this though. No, that's different. That's a certain religion. So if you taxed all religions, would that be a problem constitutionally? I got a little confused, Mid-American. I don't know, because if you taxed all religions, it's not discriminating against one or the other. So why would... Now, I think religions aren't taxed because they're like nonprofits and we don't tax nonprofits. But I'm not aware off the top of my head of a constitutional reason they couldn't be taxed. Now, I might be utterly wrong about that. So if I'm wrong, feel free to write me in. But my initial thought when it came to religion, the Constitution were the Constitution's the prohibitions on favoring one religion over the other or abridging a certain religion, that kind of thing. So, interesting question, though. Thank you for asking that, Mid-American. So, hold on one second here. I got a message from Andrew Sova. Andrew Sova writes, he sent me a link and said, I thought you'd find this interesting. If you haven't already heard about this, Ted Cruz seized billions from El Chapo to fund border wall. Oh, Ted Cruz said he had an idea, which is we could take money from El Chapo, the Mexican. Senator Cruz introduces El Chapo Act. Bill reserves billions in potential assets forfeited as a result of the criminal prosecution of El Chapo, the Mexican drug lord, to pay for border security. So that came out. That was announced this morning. Thanks, Andrew, for reminding me of that. I need to read more about it. I saw the headline this morning and hadn't actually read about it. Let's see here. Are we caught up? I think I'm just about caught up on messages. Okay, we're probably going to end the stream soon. I just want to real quick check out what's going on Twitter. And it looks like, by the way, Ann Coulter is not going to speak tomorrow. I saw this report. I need to read a little more about it. And she's been tweeting in the last few minutes about this. Did she actually confirm that she's not going to speak tomorrow? So she did say if we continued to fight, we would have won. She sent that out a minute ago. 2 minutes ago, she said, I'm so sorry, Berkeley had a different story with every 20 minutes, which always was no speech. I'm sorry, that didn't say what I thought I was going to say. I'm so sorry Berkeley canceled my speech. I'm so sorry YAF acquiesced in the cancellation. And I'm so sorry for free speech crushed by thugs. So in the last few minutes, Ann Coulter has tweeted out 3 tweets. None of them exactly said she's not going to speak tomorrow, but it looks like she's not going to speak tomorrow. I just as an aside to say a little more about that. So from what I had heard, Ann Coulter, what happened is the 2 Berkeley, on-campus Berkeley student Republican groups that have been working with her on this speech, like today, announced they were no longer going to be involved with the speech because, and I think maybe for security reasons or something, but what would have happened, it sounded like what might, if Ann Coulter wanted to speak tomorrow, she would have had to like go by herself to this very open area, not like an enclosed building where they could guard who comes in, and she would have to go by herself to this open area and like possibly there'd be violence there, and I guess she's decided not to do it. I want to read up more about that. So, but just to let you know that about the update about that situation, the speech she was going to give at Berkeley. Sightless seer, as a clarification, you said, I specifically said religious institution, it wouldn't favor, it would be based on what all give back to the communities. Oh, you're talking about your proposal before. All of the, I need to read, Sightless seer, I don't want to not do justice to your comments, so I'll read it over after I get off the air because we're about to get off the air here. But thank you for writing in. I'll look at it when we get off the air. And let me just see. Catherine Terrace said that one sheet that we just tweeted out was helpful. Are there any other comments? Oh, Rich Arden wrote me. He said, is the ACA tax still on there? SCOTUS approved fine because they said it was a tax. Can they make the whole thing? Can make the whole thing back if we axe the fine? So I think, Rich, what you're saying is did they say anything in the tax cut about cutting the ACA tax? Now I'm not sure what you're asking me about. Are you asking about the penalty for people if they don't buy insurance? Because that is not part of this at all, this tax proposal, if that's what you were asking about. Okay, I will say this, I just saw on my Twitter feed, somebody posted like a violent message, sort of could be seen as threatening Donald Trump, so I will report this to Twitter when I get off the air. That was kind of disturbing. All right, and are we caught up? I think I'm all caught up. And let me before we go off the air, just taking one quick check. I want to make sure nothing came out really quick about the tax plan. Oh, this is happening right now. Breaking 911 tweets out, senators boarding buses at Capitol Hill to go to the White House for a briefing on North Korea. And so all the senators are going to this, I guess all of them were invited, so I would assume most or all of them are going to get briefed on North Korea by the White House. But I also read last night that the White House was going to brief all the House members on North Korea today, which made me wonder, is maybe something up with North Korea? Is there something being planned or something? Because that seems kind of odd that you'd have these 2 White House briefings of all the Congress people on the same day. What is this here? Might want to read this. Can I get the statement? Okay, we have here a statement from the GOP congressional leaders on the Trump tax plan. This was just released. This is a statement from House Speaker Paul Ryan, Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell, House Ways and Means Committee Chairman Kevin Brady, and Senate Finance Committee Chairman Orrin Hatch. They issued the following joint statement. The principles outlined by the Trump administration today will serve as critical guideposts for Congress and the administration as we work together to overhaul the American tax system and ensure middle-class families and job creators are better positioned for the 21st century economy. Lower rates for individuals and families will allow them to keep more of their hard-earned money and empower them to invest more in their future. Getting tax rates down for American companies, big and small, will create new jobs and make the United States a more inviting place to do business. With an eye toward fairness and simplicity, we're confident we can rebuild our tax code in a way that will grow our economy, better promote savings and investment, provide our job creators with a competitive advantage, and bring prosperity to all Americans. So the Republican leaders, the House, Ryan, McConnell, Brady, and Hatch, all seem on board with the general plan. Of course, it needs to get worked out. And remember, this is the president's plan, but the president doesn't propose the legislation. Congress needs to propose and pass the legislation. Now, I'm sure Congress will work with the White House on this, but this legislation needs to get fleshed out, and we'll see what happens with it. We'll see if they can pass this, something that looks like this tax plan eventually this year. Let's see. Oh, got another, I think another message. Let me see. Oh, this was, Mid-American, you just sent me a link from Fox News, another statement I want to read. So thank you, Mid-American, for giving a heads up. Another story that was breaking this morning, about an hour ago actually, that we hadn't talked about yet, is that the House Freedom Caucus said, reportedly said they were on board with this new House GOP Obamacare replacement bill, or replacement health bill. And the House Freedom Caucus, they are like this group of some of the most conservative members of the House GOP representatives. And a number of them, they did not support the previous health bill, the one that was pulled. And Fox News posted on their Twitter a statement from the House Freedom Caucus, and it's a statement supporting recent ACHA amendment. And I don't know which amendment it is yet. I got to look up and see what exact bill they're talking about. So the AHC amendment would be the new bill that would amend the old Obamacare system. The statement was, while the revised version still does not fully repeal Obamacare, we are prepared to support it to keep our promise to the American people to lower health care costs. So the House Freedom Caucus says today they are prepared to support the latest version of the House GOP replacement bill for Obamacare. Now, I don't know exactly what that bill is. I saw that bill might do something like let states get rid of some of the provisions of Obamacare, like the pre-existing conditions provision, or what else? Or I just saw a couple things mentioned, but I didn't see the exact facts. So, but I did see that this latest bill might let states get rid of some parts of Obamacare if they want to. So we'll have to wait and see what that exact bill is. And we also got to see if moderate Republicans will support this as well. But that's an important statement from the House Freedom Caucus. Thank you for the heads up from, I forget who even sent that to me, from Mid-American. Thank you. Oh, Italiano for Trump writes in, when is RSBN getting a cable news channel? Need more right side channels. Well, we'd love to be on cable, but that's a whole big business kind of thing, and like, I don't even know how that works, but I know it's something that like huge big corporations do, and we are not a big corporation, so we do not have the heft to get on cable right now. We're just trying to stay on the air and be able to bring you an alternative to the mainstream media, bring you coverage of the news, of breaking news, of events like this today, where actually we spend some time and we do a pre-show and a post-show, and we take your comments and we talk about issues in depth. And we don't just tell you what to think. We want to give you information, let you decide what to think. So we enjoy doing that for you. And if you'd like to see that coverage, we do rely on your donations to stay on the air. So please consider donating to us. You can donate at rsbn.tv/donate, rsbn.tv/donate, or you can go to the chat room right next to the YouTube feed, and you can click on the $ sign at the bottom of the chat room. Okay, I think we're going to wrap it up here. I think it's time to wrap it up. Appreciate you joining us today for our coverage of the tax proposal from President Trump. We saw if you missed the announcement, you just rewind this and you can see Steve Mnuchin and Gary Cohn making the announcement. Thank you to Jake Seals for producing today. Jake did a great job. We found out shortly before this announcement that they were going to do it at this time, and so we rushed to get on the air, and Jake did a great job getting it all on the air and getting that photo up for you. Please subscribe to Right Side Broadcasting on YouTube and hit the notifications bell when you do so to make sure you get notified about all our videos. Follow us on Twitter at RSB Network. I am on Twitter at Lookner, at Lookner. Jacob Seals is on Twitter at Jacob RSBN Music. And be sure to catch our shows tonight. We have Nick Fuentes at 8 p.m., America First with Nick Fuentes, and Wayne Dupree Show at 9 p.m. Eastern. And thank you to the moderators for moderating the chat. Thank you to the people who donated before, much appreciated. Thank you to all of you for watching and for supporting Right Side and for watching us, and also for all of your excellent comments and questions today, much appreciated. If there's more breaking news later today, we'll come on the air. But either we'll be on the air for that, or we'll be on the air sometime soon. Oh, just a heads up. Tomorrow is Thursday, so tomorrow myself, Micah, and Liz are driving away and heading off to Pennsylvania. We're driving, we're not flying because we don't have that much money here. We can't afford to fly. So we're driving. We're going to take a little road trip. We're going to head to Pennsylvania. We will be doing late night live streams. So those of you who've seen us go to the rallies before, when we travel to the rallies, we do like a late night live stream if we're on the road. So I'm anticipating doing the late night live streams Thursday night, Friday night, and Saturday night, maybe even Sunday night too. So for those of you out there who like late night live streams, just a heads up that we will be doing those. And but since I will be in the car, I think we might, for example, if Sean Spicer does a briefing tomorrow, we might not do a pre-show and post-show because I might be in a car and not able to do it. So if you don't see a pre-show and a post-show, just know that's why it is. But anyways, we'll deal with that when we come to it. But thanks for joining us today. Thanks for joining us for this. I'm going to go off and do some reading about this, all this tax stuff, so I can give you a better informed perspective on it. That's what I'm going to do. I'd encourage you to do so as well if you want to know more about it. There's all those details in there. So, but we'll see you soon. Have a great day from Right Side Broadcasting. For me, for Jake, for everybody else here. Thanks for watching. Have a good one.